Welcome to Paradigm Shift episode 123. 123 weeks in a row. My goodness, do we have a special treat today. My good friend and dynamic stud, Dr. Layne Norton. But first, bringing on my co-pilot, Big Dave. Let's have some fun. Let us all know how you're feeling in the chats. We're going to bring on Layne in less than five. Let's get this party started. Big Dave, I see you. I'm inviting you right now. Layne, we're going to bring you, buddy. Yep. How's everybody feeling? Let us know in the chats. And also, bring on some questions for Layne. Big Dave!
Hey, what's going on?
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Doing great. Great, you're glowing today. What gives? Did you get lucky this morning?
No comment.
Fair enough. No comment is a comment. I love you. It's always good to see you.
No, I think I'm just showered. Usually it's after my workout and I wait to shower till after the show, but I'm going down to the beach house for, the next week, and we're really excited to have a meetup down in San Diego, Orange County. I'll be in New York August 10th. Super excited about that. Filming 2-minute drill. We got so much going on, man. We got to see more Craig Siegel there.
100% all abundance. Well, every time you're in New York, I create time no matter what's going on to see you, and I can't wait. So much to dive in today. We have a very special guest on. Dr. Layne Norton's a stud. Before we bring him on, as always, I have a quick question for you. I was checking out your content today, as I always do. I always learn so much from it, and it also helps that you're charismatic and handsome. So that's imperative. And you were talking about the interval of time, and you're one of all the people that I've ever heard talk about time. You're at the top of the list and making it the most digestible and easy to apply. Can you tell the audience today what you mean exactly by studying the interval of time?
Yeah, well, first of all, the word study people overlook. And I mean that from coaching and mentoring so many people about time. And, through the process, I'll talk about being a student of the intervals of time. And they're just semi-frequently looking at their calendar. That is not studying. Studying is actually paying attention to, so looking at and focusing in on the intervals of time, but also aligning what you do, say, think, believe, and feel in the trajectory of utilizing that time in the most efficient, effective, and statistically successful way. And so I find that people waste so much productivity, accessibility, and gratitude by wasting time, by not studying the intervals of time. The interval of the activity you have planned is the most obvious one that most people are deficient at, but it's really the other two that are the easier two in order to effectuate more productivity, accessibility, and gratitude in your life. One, activity you don't have planned. If you're not paying attention to and giving intention to the blank space, the empty space, the free time, the non-time of your calendar, then you are wasting approximately, in my opinion, about 16 hours a day, because that's how much underutilized time, which is inclusive of sleep, because most people don't study the blank space of the calendar from, let's say 11 p.m. until 8 a.m. or whatever their sleep period is. That is an activity sleep. It is 1/3 of your life, about 26 years on average of everyone's life. And so when you think about underutilizing your life, underutilizing the intervals of time, start with the biggest interval of the activity you don't have planned, which is about 16 hours a day. Although the most obvious is the 8 hours that people have planned. If they're very, very efficient, they have 8 hours planned. But even if they have it planned, it doesn't mean they're giving the appropriate intention to it or attention to it. Because remember, the attention and intention that you give to the intervals of time will equal the coincidences, the karma, all of those different things that you want or better.
I love it. And that's why I mentioned one of the reasons why you actually schedule in a wind down routine to get ready for sleep.
Yeah, unwinding routine is critical because you want to maximize the activity. And sleep is an activity that most people do every day, but yet almost everybody on earth goes to bed and they wake up more tired than they went to sleep. And the reason they do is because they haven't prepared themselves. You know, when you go run those marathons, you warm up, you prepare for those extensively. When I go to sleep, I warm down and I prepare for it extensively so that I not only recover better than most people, if not all, but I also access the necessary information in order to transcend the enlightenment or awareness of the activities that I'm going to utilize the next day. In other words, most people live their lives without an unwinding routine. They live their lives like tube, food in, food out. I live my life not like the myth of Sisyphus, pushing a boulder to the top of the hill just to have it roll down in the morning. I live it in a plateau and grow context where every day I'm a higher self in order to effectuate a higher self the next day, having the aggregate compounding exponentiality of outcomes and acceleration of what I want or better in my life, and teaching other people to do the same.
You're such a stud. So there's that. I love this.
So there's that.
I know how busy you are. I know you don't love that word. You prefer productive.
Active.
But I know you probably, I don't know how often you get to the movies these days, but there's a movie out that I think that you would find in alignment very interesting, and that's Oppenheimer. And it's when they first started discovering quantum physics. And it's pretty cool. I think it's right up your alley.
Yeah, I am very active, and it's on my agenda. The choice my wife has given me is to go see Barbie or Oppenheimer. I chose Oppenheimer. I'll watch Barbie on the plane while I'm doing emails. So thanks for the tip. I definitely will enjoy that.
Layne, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Hey, Craig, how are you?
Doing great. How's everything by you? Good?
Yeah, I can't complain.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Tampa. I'm at home.
Okay, cool. For our listeners, I'm super excited for this conversation. We've connected many times before. Layne is just a plethora of awesome knowledge and so forth. If you guys weren't familiar, do yourself a favor, do a deep dive, play catch up. What I think is most valuable today is we just dive right in. One of the things that I saw you talk about recently, Layne, and I know Dave can relate to this too as a coach and mentor and so forth, is that sometimes you get frustrated, specifically like you question like if what you're doing is a waste of time because not everybody takes your suggestions and so forth. When that does happen for you, obviously we can't save everybody. How do you overcome that voice in your head?
I think experience and understanding that like your mood is not always in your control, you know? So I tell people, you know, I think a lot of disappointment and stress is over, you know, feeling like you should be positive all the time, and then understanding that you're going to have periods of negativity, and what's important is just you can feel that way, but just keep executing, because if you're just going to go with the whims of your feelings, it's going to be like you're a leaf blowing in the wind, you know? So I think, you know, I express that only because I think people sometimes look at people who are very successful and assume that they always feel like they have meaning in what they do, and they always feel like they're crushing it and that sort of thing. And the reality is that it's, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I imagine I'm not unique, that everybody has periods of time where they don't feel motivated and don't feel that, you know, things are moving forward. And so one of the things I feel like I've always been good at is still keeping myself in execution mode, even when I'm not, you know, even when I have a day, a week, a month, or months where I'm kind of like feeling like I'm just slogging through quicksand, I still keep my feet moving. And I think that that's important.
So good. But not too many people keep it more real than Layne, right, Dave?
Oh, that's for sure. And he's completely aligned with some of the greatest frustrations that all mentors, coaches, and teachers have. And there's a duality to what he's talking about. One is, what do we do to ourselves, right? So there's one thing about the practice ourselves, and that's why I maintain a minutes and moments strategy where I try my best when I identify the interference that I'm creating by identifying what I'm doing, saying, thinking, feeling, and believing, knowing that my beliefs are in myself are just a bag of beliefs that are indicating what I'm doing, saying, thinking, and of course, feeling. So I used to spend days, weeks, months, and years, just like Dr. Layne. Now I'm in the practice of spending minutes and moments. But as great as my life and as blessed as I am in so many aspects, I get kicked in the face about 8 times a day, the same way I got kicked 8 times a day when I was a kid, when I, lost $100 million, when I gained $100 million. It didn't matter. I get kicked every day. It's how quickly can I get back to center and at ease and identify the dis-ease and resolve it. The other issue that's reconciled in this as a coach, teacher, and mentor is not only are we challenged with our own truth, but we have to realize that we can't want for our friends, our family, and our clients more than they want for themselves. And the truth is, people are on their own journey and they may not be ready or willing to do what it takes to effectuate what they're learning. So it's very frustrating for, even if you're paid, right? And Craig, you are mentored by me and you've seen me get frustrated because I'm like, holy shit, like, you're paying me, how can you not? And then I realize my job is to plant seeds. I don't control time. And if I plant seeds, even if you're not executing on the seeds that I'm planting today, and I have 4 children, I see as they're getting older, some of the seeds I planted when they were 18, the 24-year-old, it's starting to sprout. And so I think it's really important to have the patience and be able to be forgiving enough to say, my job is to plant the seeds. Your job is to grow the plant. And as long as I'm planting good seeds in you, then, I'm doing my job as a mentor, a teacher, and a coach. And Dr. Layne's right on it in the illumination and vulnerability of saying, look, we're all human and I don't really know what I don't know, but this is what's working for me today.
Yeah, beautifully said. Love this. So many places we could take this conversation. Layne, I wanted to ask you this. One of the many things I love about you is how transparent you are, and you're not afraid to call someone out on their BS, and I think that's awesome. I wanted to ask you straight up, what is the biggest misconception out there in general with nutritional sciences? Where do I begin, right?
I think, I think what's really popular right now is, at least from what I'm seeing, is it's people kind of like picking out specific, very specific nutrients present in a particular food and then saying, look what this does. This is toxic. You need to cut this out. And I'm actually a big fan of diet inclusivity versus exclusivity. And I think fear-based nutrition information is probably the worst and least accurate thing out there. People don't eat nutrients, they eat foods. And I could go to any food, literally any food, the most organic, clean, whatever it is. And I can find a chemical compound present in there, natural, that if I isolated that compound and fed it in high doses, it would have a toxic effect. That does not mean that that food in particular is toxic. So one of the first things you learn in physiology, if you've ever taken a toxicology class, is that the dosage makes the poison. And so I would really, for the listeners out there, be very wary of people who are trying to drive sales or get you to buy things or get you to, based on fear. Unfortunately, fear-based marketing is the best marketing there is, because we know that human beings respond much better to negativity than they do positivity in terms of pushing them to action. So I think the danger in that is that, once again, if you believe every fitness influencer out there, you're basically left with eating nothing in 2023, right? And so this is why that sort of thing is so dangerous. And I see the downstream effects it has is that, one, people feel like access to health is such a high bar because there's so many bad foods that they simply can't consume if they want to be healthy. And then I see the downstream effects of, people saying, well, I can't, there's no way I can do anything right, so I'm just not going to do anything. And then honestly, disordered eating patterns as well. And so I think really just getting people, so many people have paralysis by analysis. In fact, the only motivational seminar I've ever given was basically on the crux of it is planning and perfectionism has killed more dreams than failure ever could, because so many people have paralysis by analysis, and this goes for fitness as well. They don't feel like they should start unless they can line up everything perfectly. And as you guys know, perfection is the enemy of progress. Like, just do something right now. Hey, you can't get fresh caught, organic, whatever. Cool. Get frozen fish or frozen vegetables or whatever it is. Like, just start doing something a little bit better than what you're doing right now. Because at the end of the day, I tell people, focus on picking up the big boulders. Like, if we're trying to pick up as much weight in boulders as possible, focus on the big boulders first. And then you can worry about the pebbles if you have space to do that. But what you don't want to do is try to pick up pebbles and drop the boulder because you're picking up the pebbles. And so many people get focused on the pebbles, you know, stepping over dollars to pick up pennies, as they say. And I think it's because people really like feeling special and feeling specific. And it feels like people want some complicated answer to their problems, because simple puts a lot of responsibility back on the individual. And in 2023, we don't like personal responsibility. That's scary.
Yeah, this is the perfect conversation at the perfect time. And one thing I always talk about is give yourself permission to be less than perfect. And when I first started CLS and reinvented myself, I didn't have a laptop for the first 8 months of CLS. But Dave, is this the right frequency for you or what?
Oh yeah, of course. And it's so interesting because while you were talking, I'm thinking you can actually drink too much water, right? Like you can't find any nutrients in H2O, right? But you could kill yourself, literally drown yourself by drinking too much water. And there's so much time, and we're each individual fingerprints as well. And I think what's so important about the understanding of fear in the context of our own health is that fear can just get us up and get us started, but it's not going to get you there. And so I think distinguishing fear and inspiration, that fear can get us up, get us back up, get us started, get us back started. But we, at some point, have to be inspired. We have to identify, actually, what are we doing to interfere with our potential, and understand that we can't get everything done every day. We can't be perfect. And that progress, not perfection, has been a motto of mine for so long. And that's why I study. We started with Oppenheimer and quantum physics. You know, the people that I study talk about the 3 characteristics of energy, and it applies to nutrition. It's what we do aggregates on itself. Then it gives you exponentiality of outcomes, and then it accelerates. So good behaviors in the aggregate will exponentially provide better outcomes, and it'll accelerate. So if we're progressing every day, it's going to aggregate more progress, give us exponentially more outcomes aligned with what we want to do. But I think for me, the key enlightenment or awareness as I got older, and trust me, nutrition is probably one of the more challenging things genetically and energetically at 55 for me. And, you know, I always joke around, if I would have worked out like this, and I played college sports at 25, this would not be my body. And I was not eating as healthy as I am today, but my nutrition is aggregated, exponentially created outcomes, and accelerated as I increased time. But what's so interesting is the bad behavior side does the same with no awareness. And so raising our awareness to these behaviors in the aggregate are really important to where we get to be. And I think too much time spent on that, you know, what's missing, what we don't have aspect of nutrition, and, you know, the amount of stress. Maybe I'm wrong, but I see some people stressing so much on what they're eating that the stress causes more damage than eating broccoli all day long.
No, that's absolutely true. I think I've told people the little thing that you're stressing about, you're probably doing more damage from the stress than you are if you just ate the dang cookie. You know what I mean? Like in moderation, right? Like I tell people all the time, if you can control just 1 bite or 2 bites of anything, in the same respect of trying to be perfect on the good side, you don't have to be perfect on the bad side. Like you can get the happiness that it creates may do more good for you than the broccoli. So I tell people sometimes progress is saying no to a donut, and sometimes progress is saying yes and not feeling shame about it. And as you know, guys in the financial sector, one of the things that you guys can probably vibe with is I like to use financial examples because I feel like they vibe more. And there's so much shame around food, and people, well, I can't have, say, ice cream because that's a bad food. Okay, let's apply that logic to finances, all right? By that logic, you should never, ever buy a depreciating asset, ever, because it's a bad investment. But for some people, I'm not a car guy, but I know some people, they love cars, right? And that car or whatever is the carrot on the end of the stick. Now, should they buy a sports car if it means that the payment is going to make it difficult for them to, you know, pay their mortgage and save money and do all this other, take care of their responsibilities? Of course not. That is a bad deal. But if you're, you know, if you're making $1 million a year and you're saving a bunch of money and you've got a bunch of excess money left over where you can still hit all your other responsibilities and you want to buy a sports car, it's going to make you feel good, it's going to feel like a nice reward for you, then yeah, go do it. Like, I don't think there's any financial advisor who would say, oh, no, you shouldn't do that, right? Because are you supposed to live like a pauper your entire life? No, even though it's a bad investment, for you, it may actually be good. And the same thing applies to food, right? So I don't feel shame if I want to have a bowl of ice cream. I don't feel shame if I want to have a couple slices of pizza, because overall, the aggregate, as Dave was talking about, the aggregate of my choices are excellent choices. And so I don't worry about if I make, I have bad foods every day, but the majority of the foods I eat are conducive to a healthy diet.
Yeah, I love this. And Layne, one thing that you have to talk about, and I'm wondering if this is kind of correlated, is placebo and the power of belief.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I think, people don't really have a great understanding of placebo. So when I say something like placebo, people think, oh, that's just a feeling. Like you take a supplement, you have a placebo effect, you feel like something happened. No. The power of suggestion in pharmaceutical research has been shown to be just as powerful as some pharmaceutical drugs. So I'll give a few brief examples. We all know caffeine improves performance. Like, there are thousands of double-blind placebo-controlled research showing caffeine improves performance. However, in a recent clinical trial, they changed things a little bit differently. They had 4 groups of cyclists, and they said to one group, the groups were didn't get caffeine, told they didn't get it, told they got it, told they didn't get it, and got it and told they got it. What do you think mattered? What mattered was what they actually told them. So the people who were told they had caffeine had the same outcomes. Now, people will hear that and go, well, then caffeine doesn't do anything. No. That's not what that research says. What it says is your beliefs about what caffeine does are actually more powerful than what it actually does. They've done the same thing with creatine. And then there was another study where they took 2 groups of people. They're both resistance training, same program, same characteristics. One group was told they were taking anabolic steroids. The other group was getting a placebo. Guess who gained more muscle and strength throughout the program, and was actually showed that they had more muscle by cross-sectional area, the most direct measurement? The group told they were getting steroids because they believed it. And then I'll give one more example. It's not really placebo, but before the 4-minute mile, before Roger Bannister, some people thought it was actually physically impossible to do it.
Doctors thought it was physically impossible.
Once he did it, I think it's something over tens of thousands of people have done it, including high school kids. So
4 people did it in the next 2 weeks.
Right.
4 people did it 2 weeks after.
So what changed? People's physiology didn't change. What changed was they got on the track knowing it was possible. So that really shows you the power of belief. Now, I can't believe that I can fly and jump off my balcony and start flying, but I'll tell people this. When it comes to business, athletics, whatever, just believing isn't enough. But if you don't believe, it's probably going to be pretty darn tough.
Craig, I got to add to that, because that's one of the topics that I'm talking about right now. I suggested earlier, everyone's a bag of beliefs, but they think that beliefs just determine how we feel. But beliefs are in control of what you do, of what you say, and what you think and feel. And so if we're constantly looking at what are the bags of beliefs that we have, the beliefs that we have that are aligned with what we want to do, what we want to say, what we want to think, and want to feel, then we get those placebo outcomes, because it's the beliefs that determine what we do. So you still got to do it. It's the beliefs that determine what we say. And if we say things into existence, statistically, they'll be in existence. Even more importantly, if we believe it, we'll think in that trajectory. And if anyone's read Napoleon Hill and Wayne Dyer and a variety of other great thought leaders, they'll tell you, Bob Proctor, how important it is to think in the trajectory of where you want to be when you start that this is possible, and even have been done before. And then, of course, the way we feel inspired will exacerbate that as well, like the caffeine example that Dr. Layne gave. So I really want to stress how important the bag of beliefs and the introspective thinking of our mindset, our heart set of how we feel, and our hand set of what we're doing, saying, and thinking, all once again aggregate, accelerate, and compound exponentially in the acceleration or trajectory of what we think we want or better. Man, this is just mind blowing. If you haven't gone back and listened to this one, you're making a big mistake. It can quantumly change your life.
Yeah, I loved it. This is the perfect live for Saturday morning. Hopefully we inspired everybody. Layne, I know all the cool things you're up to for our community that might have been familiar. What are you most excited about right now, and how can some of our audience support you, brother?
Yes, I've got just launched a mentorship program with my business partner, Professor Bill Campbell from USF, and we have launched an 8-month mentorship program called the Physique Coaching Academy, which basically, if somebody wants to be an online nutrition coach, we are teaching them all the evidence-based tools to do that. It's basically the equivalent of an undergraduate university degree, but condensed down into about 8 months, just completely focused on, body composition, how to lose fat, how to build muscle. We're giving people all the information they need with none of the information they don't. And we're also offering, we have another partner who's doing business mentorship on that as well for coaches. So they're getting kind of like everything, like to set up everything. And then we also do weekly calls with our students. So that's called Physique Coaching Academy. You can find it from the link in my Instagram bio. And that's what I'm really most excited about, because I don't just love helping one-on-one. I feel like the best way I can help people is coach other people how to help people.
The ripple effect.
Yeah.
Love Dave talks about the same thing. Thank you both so much about my heart. This conversation was priceless. I'm going to personally rewatch it. Thank you guys for being here. Let's have an unbelievable weekend, and Layne will connect in a little bit.
Sounds great. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
Man. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Craigie Poo.
You're welcome, Mr. Bagel. Love you.
Bye. See you guys.
That was so much fun, guys. If you guys aren't already following Layne, do so right now. I created a special free How to Reinvent Your Life toolkit. I'm giving it to everybody on this live. All you have to do is comment the word epic right here, right now, and I'm going to DM it to you. Check your message requests if you didn't get it. It's coming right over. So just comment the word epic right here. So much fun, guys. Layne is a bona fide stud. One of my favorite cats to collaborate with. Obviously, Big Dave, thank you so much as always. So much information. And the placebo thing, that was a really interesting conversation, for sure. And I like what Layne said there. Not everything that you believe might happen, but if you don't believe it, then it's definitely not. So that's pretty special. I see you guys writing the word epic. Everyone that does is going to get a free How to Reinvent Your Life toolkit. All you got to do is comment the word epic right here in the chats. And also, guys, I'd love to know what was your favorite takeaway from that. It's just, and also in the beginning, like, you can't save everybody, right? You can plant seeds. You can show people the best course of action, but not everybody's going to take it. But all you can do is do your best. You can't control everyone's outcome. And one thing that I'm yet to see you able to teach is ambition. You got to want that. You got to have your drive. Guys, Layne's on fire. I suggest if you're into that stuff, you're looking to be a fitness coach or nutrition, definitely sign up for his program. Big Dave, thank you as always, guys. 123 weeks in a row. That's pretty crazy. We have our first book, The Reinvention Formula, coming out August 15th. If you haven't pre-ordered yet, definitely do so. Anywhere you buy books, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. And if you want all the bonuses that come with it, make sure you go to thereinventionformula.com, input your name and confirmation number. You'll get added to our launch team. We're reading the book before it comes out, all the bonuses, giveaways, how to build a podcast for free, how to reinvent your life, and access to the biggest virtual event we ever threw. You can do that just by ordering the book and go to thereinventionformula.com. Love you guys so much. Thank you for being with us. Let's have an unbelievable epic weekend. Bye, guys.